So hey guys, so now I'll be doing a video on Time Dragons as a whole as to what we got in the new set, as well as how to play and card choices, tech choices, as well as some combos and sample hands, and showing you how Time Dragon plays out, because it's a very difficult deck to pilot. So first off, right, in the new set we actually got many new stuff. So first off is actually Time Dragon Omega. So its effect is that it actually allows you, when you reverse, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 card to your hand, to the gauge, and to a soul of a monster on your field. And then it also has Soul Guard, and anytime your opponent attacks, right, it also redirects all attacks to the center Time Dragon monster. So there's no Shadow Dive, and they can't clear your sides first, they have to clear Omega first. So this card in itself is actually very strong. You actually net a 2.5 card advantage, which is actually quite huge. And this in conjunction with your Time Scout Lange, right? So a simple combo would be basically, let's say you got Time Ruler on field, you have Omega, and you have the size 0 inch 1 monster Lange. So let's say you just clock, you reverse, you add a soul into your Time Ruler with Omega's effect, right? Elongate actually procs. So that's actually a very neat combo that you can use to net you even more advantage during your opponent's turn. So moving on from that, we actually got cool new broken card, which is the Chronos Reverse. It's actually a spell now for 2 gauge. It's a generic spell now, and moreover, if your flag has reversed 4 or more times during this fight, your opponent can cast a spell with the same name again. So very strong. So we actually have a new card called ES. So for each card that you reverse during this fight, you can target cards in your field based on their amount, and they cannot be destroyed by card effects, can be rested, and their abilities can be nullified. And if you target 2 or more cards, draw a card. So free cycle. Very strong, not once per turn. You can protect your monsters when you play with the counter timings. So, and the last card is probably one of the more important cards, is the Chronos Sin Exceed. So cast cost 1 gauge, drop a soul of a monster, and then based on how many times you reverse during this fight, either stand the same amount of cards, destroy the amount of cards your opponent's field, or for this turn reduce damage by the amount of times you reverse. So mainly it would be the destruction effect and the damage reducing effect that you'll use most of the time. Super strong. Probably this is one of your outs when your opponent is playing Overgod 0. Yeah. So that's the 4 new cards. And them in conjunction with what you currently have for your Time Dragons in the 2-set card pool, especially with the trial deck, actually is more than enough to tackle anything in the meta and anything in future sets, which are currently the Superhero set, as well as the Buddy Again Volume 3, which has Thunder Empire, Black Dragons, and Star Dragon Tora. Yeah. So we actually got a new win condition for Time Dragons, which is the Overgod 0. So it's a new flag, can be played in your deck. However, the only way to play this card is by reversing your End Ruler Dragon. So it's basically when you have 4 reverse cards, you flip it and put it over. So one of the more broken effects that it actually has is actually that you can either discard a copy of itself or pay 6 gauge and discard 6 cards from your hand to stop time for the whole entire turn, and the effect cannot be countered. So basically this automatically wins you the game most of the time, provided you don't chain any effects that prevents them from receiving any damage, like Uno, or any effects that prevents them from losing when you declare the reverse effect. So that's one way of stopping this card. Okay, so moving on, we usually have the Time Scout Riku. So let's focus a bit. So call across 1 gauge, enters the field, search your deck for Overgod 0, or take Overgod 0 from your drop zone. So it's a retrieval. Moreover, when you are in Overgod 0, it gets 10k attack and defense, as well as 1 critical and double attack. 2 critical, sorry, so it's a 3 crit double attacker. You got a size 12 monster. It's actually quite useless, don't bother playing it. Another thing would be the deck refresh, because Time Dragons actually go through the deck very fast. And you have a deck refresher, only can be used when you have reversed your flag 4 or more times. So basically you just return all cards from your hand, gauge and drop zone to your deck, shuffle, draw 6, gauge 2, and your life becomes 10. So a neat thing about this is actually you can use it on your opponent's turn. When you're about to lose, you just cast this card. Yep. They also have the impact, which is only used when you have reversed 4 times, to gauge, deal 1 damage to your opponent 12 times. Very bad. Don't bother playing it. So this you can be played at 1 or 2 copies, but usually it's a dead card, and moreover, you're actually either way winning the game, but you can consider playing 1 or 2 copies of this. There's nothing wrong with that. So moving on, right? Currently in Time Dragons, there is 2 main win conditions, which is the Lost War or the Overgot Zero build. So some people might actually be playing both. For me personally, I'll be playing only the Overgot Zero, and let me give you the rationale why. So basically, let's say you're in a game, 4 flags, and your buddy, okay? So let's say, let me weigh out the pros and cons first. For Lost War, right, if you're going first, you can actually farm uninterrupted by your opponent as much as possible, and with the amount of draw power Time Dragon actually has, you actually have a high probability of hitting your Lost War on your first turn, drawing to it. So it only gives your opponent 1 turn to react and farm their cards, or to kill you. Otherwise, you usually go into Lost War and then you just go on the offensive and try to win from there. However, the problem about Lost War is that currently in the game, if you go to Lost War and you do not win your opponent, right, you actually just usually lose the game right there and then. This is because decks have become very offensive, very aggro-centric, and she can just stop Lost War very easily and destroy any decks that go into Lost if the Lost War player can't win the game on that turn. So let's say if you're going second, usually if you don't do a turn 0 loss, you're basically doing a Lost War on the end of your opponent's second turn, which is basically the same timing where your Overgot 0 would proc if you would reverse your flags 1 time each turn. So with that in mind, more often than not, I would rather play Overgot 0, because it's the same timing as that. Overgot 0 doesn't require gauge as well, so that's another thing. Against EDD, that's a very important thing, as well as decks that can burn gauge, like God Punk as well. So what else is the reason why you play Overgot 0, right? Is that this is a definite win, whereas when you go to Lost War, you might not be able to win. Yep, and I would rather use that 2 gauge that I can for other stuff, such as a spell now, or any other disruption effects that I can use for myself to survive, instead of using it for Lost War, which is worth a lot less in card value wise. So that's the argument. However, if you're playing a best of 3, I would consider siding Lost War in. So in case, let's say, usually if a Time Dragon player goes first, right, usually they are winning that game. So game 2, more or less, your opponent would choose to go first. Game 3, if somehow you lose the second game also, in game 3 you can choose to go first and you can actually sign your Lost War, giving yourself the advantage in the mirror against other decks if you're going Lost War first. So with that in mind, your Lost War actually has to be very offensive, and it has to be able to kill your opponent on the first turn. So looking at some tech cards, right, that can be played in Time Dragons is, first off, is the Chronos Power Reserve. So you actually gauge or gain life based on each time you reverse during this fight, and this counter. So usually this is used mainly for the gauge. It's very strong against gauge burn decks, as well as it's very crucial for you when you need the gauge for your spells in particular. It comes in very handy most of the time. However, through my testing, it's not really as strong as I would like it to be, because usually it's only gauging 2. And usually if you are at the point where you can gauge 3 or 4 cards, you're actually so far ahead that this card doesn't really do much, and I rather it be something else. And moreover than not, I'm spending most of my time charging away, but yeah, you can consider playing that. So let me move my stuff off a bit first. So moving on to the next card would be the Chronograph. So it's a 1 gauge chillax, reduce damage to 0. That's mainly the purpose of it. And the main purpose of this is actually usually just to stop Phantom Thief Dragon the impact effect damage, or any effect damage in particular. However, more than not, I feel that whatever we have now, we can actually have more than enough disruption to stop the opponent from even having access to any effect damage impacts, or your life gain is so much because of Tubarkers that this is not really needed. So that's another consideration. However, some you can actually play it if you would like to. Another would be the size 3 Time Journal Zitwell. So it's 2 gauge, a lot lesser. Top 2 inside soul, so perfect with Lange. Double attack, soul guard counter attack. Yep. All Time Journal of you gets 10k power and a crit if you reverse 2 or more times during this fight. So basically a turn 2 and it's online already. You also have a counter effect that during a battle where your Dragon is being attacked, you may pay 1 gauge air and the battle ends. So it's a very strong effect. It's still very offensive, however, usually in my testing it doesn't really accomplish much. However, Time Dragon is such a strong deck that you can actually have like some tech cards such as this if you would like to play them or save a bit of money. Another card would be the Burnova, the Rebirth version. So usually you can use Burnova offensively and defensively. Moreover than not, if you're going for the kill turn when you're in Lost World, you actually just chain the Burnova effect to any of your opponent's rest spells and then just 3 gauge core and then just prevent your other cards from resting and then just go for game. So it's strong, however, now I've realized that your hindsight is so big that it's not really worth the trade-off for Burnova play, because you're in a winning position, you don't want to like lose the game out of nowhere. Okay. So another card you can play is the Chronosim Blockade, the Risha, sorry. So it's that spell, your Time Dragon's abilities can be nullified. So with ES you don't really need this card anymore. However, you can consider playing this card because against the Mirror or against any other ability nullification decks, they actually have to destroy this card first, so they're actually committing a resource to destroy this, whereas they can actually destroy other more key important targets like Omega or Lange, but they have to target this first because this is usually their key priority in stopping you. So you can consider playing it. Another card that I've cut off my deck will be the Time Scout Sony, so it's a sheer deal gain. So it's a redirector without a requirement except that you reverse, which is basically always. So you can actually draw 1 if you reverse 2 or more times. Quite strong, but honestly not needed with the amount of defensive spells that you have. We also have Chronos Trove. So as you can see, 1 life, bottom a card from your opponent's field, yeah, or shuffle all souls from your card on your opponent's field back to the deck. So it goes past a lot of soul removal effects, or soul prevention removal, sorry, and putting a card on bottom deck usually stops a lot of stuff that can't be destroyed or whatever. Like let's say you can use this on the set spell, or use it on anything that prevents the card from being destroyed or bounced. So it goes through a lot of stuff. However, through my testing, it's mainly a very negative card in a sense. Even though it's 1 for 1, it doesn't really feel as good or trading it off. However, some people might like to play, and yeah, that's the positive about it. And the new card, you usually have Damuna, so you can use it during your attack phase. If you reverse your flag during this fight, bottom a hand card, bottom card your opponent's field during the attack phase. If it was during the any time my opponent's turn, then this card will be quite good. However, it's only during the attack phase, so you can't really stop much. However, Yes, you can still play this card to stop certain decks, such as Ultimate Gaga, EDD. Whenever they're doing any crucial plays, you can just chain this to any of their effects because it's a time ruler effect on counter speed. Yep, so it's a 2-for-1, but you gotta outweigh the value of what you're trading for. Yep. So some other cards, new cards that you can consider would be the Castra, so it's the negate. So just negate attack, reverse this fight, gauge 2 if you reverse once, gain 2 if you reverse twice, and draw 1 if you reverse 3 times. Yeah, so it's actually quite strong. So let me talk about the thought process on playing Time Dragons against other decks. So usually if you're against aggro decks, more often than not going second is actually the better choice, because if you're playing the negate like Castra, if your opponent is going first, they can't, it's not possible that they can FTK you unless they're Ultimate Gaga. Other than that, they can't really do much to you. So first turn goes by, you reverse 1 flag, it goes to your turn, you reverse 2, and during your turn you can reverse 3 times, and by then your spells like your Chronos Perrier is at the highest potential, or maximum potential as some would like to call it. And when you're going second, your time Soldier Speaker is actually online as well. More often than not, your Chronos Almete is also online as well. More often than not, your spells are all at their maximum potential in a sense, so you're actually getting more advantage out of your cards. Yeah. However, going first is still actually very strong because your uninterrupted farming is actually very important. And when going uninterrupted in farming, you can actually reach a total hand size of 11 at best with up to 6 or 7 gauge. Yes, so that's about 3 spell nows and 1 rest spell, 1 Chronos Peril. So that's more than enough. So let's say if you got 3 spell nows and your opponent's going second, right? So that's basically they draw a card, you got 7 cards. You spell now any of maximum of 3 cards. So basically they're working with a 4 card hand size. And that's very restrictive on them. And with 4 cards you can't really do much or farm much, especially when you're going up against a full board of Time Dragons. Yeah. So now moving on, right? Let's have a sample hand or sample opener for Time Dragons. Okay. So usually say you draw 6 and you gauge 2. Okay, usually if you're going first, right? If you're going second against your opponent, most of the time your opponent, what I see is that most people will use Cloud 2's effect to just end the battle and draw a card. However, this is not always the correct play, simply due to the fact that if you're against a super hyper aggressive deck, negating the first attack isn't always good because during the first turn you can just take the damage, unless it's Ultimate Gaga. However, sometimes you can consider using this Clock 2 during your opponent's most offensive turn to end the battle of 1 attack, and then using any of your other effects to just tank another attack, and on the third battle you just end the phase with your block end. So sometimes if you want to consider going to Lost World, if you have Lost World in your deck, you can actually just clock 1 and then filter for turn 0 Lost World. Other than that, you can actually also just filter for some cards or set up your drop zone if need be, depending on your hand. So let's look at our 6 card hand now. So this is actually quite below average hand. However, let's see the thought process. Let's say I'm going first. So I'll be drawing 1 card. So now I got 3 spell notifications. So at this moment, 3 spell notifications is actually too much. However, I see a Tobaccus here, so what I can actually do is just gauge the Tobaccus away and remember where I put it. Maybe just mark it a bit so I can pay off the limit gauge at a later date. So now the only thing I can do is just put down one prudence reverse because I do not need so many as of this moment, and I have to clock one because I got nothing else. So let's put it here. Look at my top 3 cards. So as you can see, I got a Tail Luna. So Tail Luna, the obvious choice. So now usually this hand is actually quite poor. So you can just actually call the Octo, cast Amate, look at the top 3 cards. So now the important thing is, what do I take? So definitely more often than not, you just take the Time Ruler Searcher and just gauge the rest. Remember where you put your Time Ruler so you can find it back next time. Just cast, gauge one, and take your defensive Time Ruler to your hand. Then gauge the rest of the cards. Yep. So what you can do is just to gauge, remember to pay off the top workers, call the Time Ruler, Buddy call it. Yep. And this is actually, yeah. So this is what happens when you have a below average hand. And usually this is considered the break situation. So let's try to find a more playable hand. Okay, let's draw 6 cards. Okay, so let's say I'm still going first. Draw. So usually you see 2 nice ones. One is the Sin Exceed, a block and speaker, and this. So usually, yeah, you will want to charge the duplicate nice one because you do not need it, and then you draw. So now I'll call time Soldier Speaker before I use the clock one. This is because with Speaker I can actually find Omega first. That's what I want to do, so I'm gonna try to find Omega first. So look at top 3, yeah. Did the right play, found Omega, call Omega. Now I'll go to clock 1. Actually, I wouldn't go to clock 1 yet. Okay, I would just cast the nice one first. 1 gauge. So I remember that this is the nice one from just now that I charged, so I'm not going to pay it away because it's not auto workers. So I'll filter and pay the gauge that is unknown so I can actually see what is left in my deck, so I have a better idea and understanding of what to do. So usually you always want to draw first when you are in conjunction with any Adelbert effects, which is the top 3, to make a better decision. So now I'll draw 2. So 2 time scouts, easy choice, clock 1, put a time scout below. Look at top 3. I'll add a searcher to my hand. The rest of the job, so easy play. Omega's effect activates. Look at 3 cards. Take Lange to my hand. I'll gauge the Time Ruler. And I'll soul in to the Omega. So now it's a very simple and straightforward play. You just cast the searcher. Gauge 1. Find the Time Ruler. And take note of how many more Time Rulers you have in your deck. This is very important, very crucial as well. So I found 1 and 2. So I got 2. So this is very important because you need to put Time Ruler from your filter drop zone or discard it from your hand to flip the God Clock itself. So you always have to keep track of it. So usually if your opponent plays Loyalty, the correct play would be to go into the Time Ruler. However, in this situation, usually they don't. But if you want to play around Loyalty, yeah, that's the correct play. But we go for the maximum value. So with the reduced cost of Lange, can body call. Pay 1 gauge, always pay the unknown. So we're paying the 1 gauge, gain 1 life. Top 2 in your soul, and draw 2. So definitely you will always draw 2 cards because unless they nullify the ability of Lange, because the call cost is to put the top 2 cards inside, so you always pay the call cost first. So by then it's already triggered. So now in my hand, Amate, just cast it. So let's spread out the cards so you can see. So look at top 3. So now you got the option of Taylor Luna, the Retrieval. So what I would take is actually the Taylor Luna. So, and I'll gauge 2. What's the rationale behind this, right? I'll take the Taylor Luna simply due to the fact that I have 2 Tobokers in my hand. So I can actually just abuse Taylor Luna with the Tobokers. So now would be the choice of playing the Taylor Luna now, sacrificing either the Omega or the Lange, or just keeping it in your hand. So it will be usually, if you are playing a Time Dragon Mirror, yeah, definitely you will just go for Taylor Luna and then Taylor Luna over Lange because Omega is more important. Yeah. So other than that, if you are not playing against a deck that needs to be controlled heavily like Time Dragon, then you can just keep a Taylor Luna first for another turn. So now would be just playing safe, playing defensively because you got 2 Tobokers, so that's about 6 life. So if you got 2 Tobokers, means you can use this effect to bomb your Time Ruler to prevent 1 penetrate attack. Moreover, next turn you also have the end battle, so that's 2 attack negated and the end phase. So as you can see, that's very strong already. So more often than not, you would do nothing. You wouldn't gain 3 life because you wouldn't want to give your opponent the information that you have destruction effect in your hand. So usually you just keep it in your hand first and chain to any effects to surprise your opponent. Because when they assume that you don't have any Tobokers in your drop zone, you can just surprise them with the effect. So moving on, let's say I attack finish, it's my opponent's turn. So before he draws, it's actually a timing, so you can actually just activate your clock 2, putting Omega below to the bottom there, simply just to draw 1. So when I draw 1, as you can see, so this is my hand now. So take note, now you got 2 reverse flags, right? Your ES is activated for the draw 1 effect, so that's very important. So now your Omega effect will trigger, you get top 3. So now I would add Overgod to my hand, clearly. So in this, because you don't want to give your opponent the information that one of it is already down. It's okay to give the information that Lange is down, but this is more crucial for defensive purposes. So you wouldn't want to give your opponent the information of that. So it's so in the Lange, and then your Lange's effect will activate the white. So you'll draw another 2 cards. So lucky me, I got another Tobokers, so that's 3. So as you can see, your hand size right now is about 11. So that's the perfect scenario, as I was saying. And as you can see, we got 6 gauge. Yeah, it's almost the perfect scenario. So with that in mind, you would cast ES to protect your Omega and your Time Ruler, and then you just draw 1. So now as you can see, you have many defensive cards. So now if your opponent were to do anything, you can just drop all your Tobokers to the drop zone, gain a bunch of life. So again, 9, I'll be at 20. So now you're really far out of reach. If they want to do anything funny, you can just Chronos Exit, destroy 2 cards. Then all your Tobokers effect resolve. Then if there's really nothing for you to do, nothing much that you can do, you can actually just, doesn't do anything. And then it'll be your turn, draw. You're so far ahead, you don't need your Omega as usual, charge it away. Then you draw. Now this is where you call your you want to save your clock for offensive or defensive purposes on your opponent's turn. So you just call your Tail Luna, and then anytime you can just destroy it with your Turbo Curse. Let's say if you want to go for your greed play, so you just call your Taylor Luna. Do keep in mind you don't want to put, usually you want to target your spells instead of your monsters because you got a retrieval spell. So you call Taylor Luna for 1 gauge, pay the one you don't know, which is, so your Lungaze effect will activate, and then you draw 2. So if your opponent want to do anything funny, or you can just use your Turbo Curse, destroy 2 cards. Then let's say it's your opponent's turn, you still have a Turbo Curse, destroy, but if you don't want to keep the soul, you can just destroy it completely. And since you got the gauge to spare, you can just bottom deck your Sviga, go for your Cloud Tree, call your Tail Luna back, even though it's for 3 gauge, which is a hefty amount. Yeah, as usual, paying the unknown. So just put 2 spells, call Tail Luna, your Omega will activate, and then putting this in, this to the gauge, you don't even know, and this to your hand, because you're on farm. Yep. So now your Tail Luna has 3 souls, big monster, tanking. And by the end of your turn, you can just drop this, and then you have Time Scout and your got 0 to go for game. So it's a very simple process as to how you would run a turn, but that's the best case scenario. So now surviving would be very crucial, because usually now decks have many anti-rest spells. So usually when they cast the anti-rest spell and they have monsters on the field, you would want to cast your Chronos Parry on them. And if they have nothing on the field, you can actually just wait until they attack. So once they declare your attack, you can just Chronos Parry, simply for the effect that prevents them from standing. Yeah. So Time Dragon is actually more of a control-centric focus deck. So it's about how you want to maximize your resource advantage, as well as how you manage it and how you survive optimally. So let's say there are times where you have, let's say 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's say you got 6 gauge, and you have this, and 3 spell notifications. Okay, let's say you have a Time Ruler on board and Omega. And let's assume that the Time Ruler has 2 souls. Okay, yeah. So let's assume it's a normal scenario, something like this. So usually if you got 6 gauge and you got 3 spell nows, most of the time you definitely would want to stop your opponent with 3 spell nows. However, sometimes when you commit to these 3 spell nows, right, and you burn all your 6 gauge away, and you left your 2 most defensive cards in your deck, and you can't really defend if your opponent finds a way, because all they need is just that 1 spell to go through to get back all advantage. So usually you would just commit 2 Chronos Reverse to stop them, and then keep the 2 defensive spells in case. So usually in certain matchups you need to know what to spell now. That's the most important thing, because sometimes hand advantage doesn't really mean anything. You need to remember that gauge is important as well. You need to know what spells to stop and what to target. So yeah, that's pretty much it for Time Dragons as a whole. So I hope you enjoyed this video and find it a bit helpful. Yeah, so there are many ways to play and build Time Dragons, so I just hope that you guys can continue experimenting, even though with this COVID-19 virus that's going on. All the more since you're stuck at home, you got nothing to do. Slowly practice, use remote fight, practice the deck, tune the deck, because I believe that Time Dragons is the deck to beat going forward, especially towards the Buddy Again Volume 2 and 3, the Superhero Time, the Superhero Wars, the Hero War set. Even with the new decks that are coming out, I still believe that Time Dragons is positioned as the deck to beat. So with that, thank you for watching this video, and then bye.